Deion Sanders is known for doing things his way, but when it comes to the NFL draft, is he going too far by saying that Shedeur Sanders is going to go where he wants? I don't think he is.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Moore. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free, which is a great thing. And wherever you get your podcasts, make sure to like, subscribe, follow, give me 5 stars and all that jazz. So that way we can enjoy this journey together. We're talking about Coach Prime's draft stance on Shedeur. He's already said a couple of things, and I don't want to say he's being a helicopter parent, but I think he might be a helicopter parent when it comes to where Shedeur Sanders is going to be drafted. Shedeur, if you guys are unfamiliar with the Colorado quarterback sensation, is his son/quarterback, and he is viewed as, at worst, in the 2025, a top 10 pick. I think his ceiling is the number 1 pick, and I think at worst he will be a mid-first round pick. He has all the intangibles that a quarterback could have. He is one of the smartest quarterbacks I've seen. He's accurate. He's got a good arm. He's mobile when needed. And I think this next year's class is going to be pretty weak compared to the class that we're seeing this year. So over the past couple weeks, we've heard Coach Prime make some comments, and this could just be him laying the groundwork to try to scare off certain teams, or this could just be him laying the groundwork to let NFL teams know that he wants his son to go to certain teams. And what those certain teams are, I don't know. Things are going to be a little different than this past year, obviously, because there's been quarterback movements in each and every way around the league. So long story short, he has said, this is Coach Prime talking, that he will be willing to pull an Eli Manning, if you will, because he thinks that Shedeur and Travis Hunter, he brought up as well when he was on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast, he said that both of these guys could declare or could decide where they want to go. And I think it's not really something that we as a NFL society are used to anymore. I think the only time that I could really think of someone pulling this off was Eli Manning. And that was obviously heavily influenced by Archie Manning, who is him, and the Manning family is just football royalty. And I think the Sanders family is football royalty as well. I just think it's a little bit different because obviously Coach Prime didn't play quarterback. So I think that'd probably be the biggest difference. And there's other differences as well, but we all know those without getting into them. But this is what he said. All of this is subjective because I know where I want them to go. And let's not forget Shiloh, but I know where I want them to go. There's certain cities where it ain't going to happen. It's going to be an Eli Manning. It's going to be Eli, obviously referring to Eli Manning. And so when I hear this, at first, I'm initially like, oh my gosh, like, is he pulling a LeVar Ball? That's what it reminds me of at first. Obviously, he's got way more credit than LeVar Ball, way more athletic accomplishments than LeVar Ball. But that was the only person I can remember, at least in recent memory in sports, where there was a parent or figure in that person's life saying, this person is going to go to this team. Obviously, LeVar wanted his sons to all play for the Lakers, and they were from Chino Hills, which was down the road from the Staples Center and all that. But it's one of those things where it's like, is he like that? Or is it like an Archie Manning situation where he thinks that there's certain situations that aren't right for Shedeur? And I think it's more so that. I think LeVar Ball, to compare the two, because obviously I brought it up and I don't want people to get all upset. I think LeVar Ball more so wanted his sons around him to kind of help facilitate. Like, they had this dream from Chino Hills to the Lakers. They went to UCLA, or they were supposed to. The other two, Jello went for a couple weeks, but we all know what happened there. Either way, that's a whole other thing. It was like a dream. It was kind of like a brand thing where they were all going to play for the Lakers. Coach Prime is doing this to preserve Shedeur's career. And they already said, which this is where it's interesting. I think it's totally smart if you could pull this off, because if you could avoid a team like, say, the Washington Commanders, obviously they're going to draft a quarterback this year, but the Washington Commanders, they have quarterback issues. They have field issues. They're one of the worst run organizations in the league. And it's just, you don't want your son or quarterback going to that team. Ask RG3, their field conditions also suck. His knees are gone. His career is done because of the field conditions there. It just changed them forever. You think of a team like the New York Jets. They don't have a good history of developing quarterbacks. They have Sam Darnold. I think the Jets' best quarterback in recent years was Mark Sanchez. And his career highlight isn't the fact that he led them to two AFC championship games. It was him running into his offensive lineman's butt. And then they have Zach Wilson. They have Sam Darnold. They have Aaron Rodgers, whatever this experiment's going to be. I just don't think the Jets are a good quarterback development team. The Giants haven't really had a good quarterback since Eli Manning left, and that's another cold place. Obviously, the Seahawks, it's cold there, and so does he want to go there? Like, what teams is he targeting? I think is the biggest question, because he says he doesn't want to play in the cold. I think it's really difficult if you just go around the teams, and it's like, who needs a quarterback that won't take one this year? Like maybe the Raiders, if they hang out with Gardner Minshew for 1 year and kind of just see what happens next year, or the Chargers, or not the Chargers, excuse me, the Rams in LA. Do they want to get Stafford's replacement this soon? Are they going to take a first round? Are they going to use a first on him? I don't know. So you're just looking around the league, and it's like there's not many options where it's like that makes total sense. It's a warm weather team, and it's a team where I think they have good development. But if you're Coach Prime, if you're Deion Sanders, not Coach Prime, this is a Deion Sanders moment. If you are one of the best players in NFL history, you have NFL ties, and you have some kind of weight that you could pull in the NFL, I think you got to try it. I think if you want to put your son in the best position to succeed and you have the possibility to do that, by all means, you have to do it. And I think a lot of people are upset by that. But I think a lot of people are viewing it as a negative sense of nepo ball or nepotism. Guess what? That's how life works. If I could do anything to help my kids when I have them, I would. It doesn't matter. Everyone hates when people do it, but everyone wants to help out their own kids as much as they can. So if he thinks that there's a certain situation, so whoever has the first pick isn't the right situation for his son, why would he be like, you know what? That's not the best situation for him. They don't have a good track record of developing quarterbacks. They don't have a good track record of being a successful team. Their fan base turns on players quickly. Why would he just be like, yeah, good luck, son. I hope it works out for you. Because obviously, I think in all of the mojo, confidence, and swagger that the Sanders family has, there's a bit of realism. We've seen that lately. Shedeur said that he didn't declare this past year because he wanted to be the best quarterback, and he knew he's not the best quarterback in this draft. It's Caleb Williams. It's been Caleb Williams for 2.5 years. He knew that he still had things to work on. He openly admitted that. There's nothing wrong with it. He wanted more experience at the Power 5 or Power 4 level starting next season, and I think that's okay. And I think there's a sense of realism where they know that to be a successful quarterback in the NFL, it takes a lot of skill and it takes a lot of luck. A lot of the luck is getting good coordinators, getting good coaches, health, a team or team or organization that is willing to let you learn. Like look at Baker Mayfield, for instance. He was into the Browns, or he was drafted to the Browns, and the Browns were a horribly run franchise, horribly run organization. I think they were the worst franchise of my lifetime thus far, up until him. He takes him to the playoffs. He gets injured, and they just kept throwing him out there. And then all of a sudden, he went from like local hero, like Baker Mayfield's this guy, to like, we hate Baker Mayfield. He sucks. Then they trade him to the Panthers, and the Panthers, horrible situation. They're a terrible team. They didn't really have much. They didn't obviously have a lot of support for Baker Mayfield. And then boom, he gets tossed to the Rams. Well, at the end of the Rams season, Sean McVay is like, dude, just be you. Like, you got this. And there's confidence built back in. Then he goes to Tampa Bay, who needs a quarterback, who is in this weird in-between stage where they are looking for the replacement to Tom Brady still. And lo and behold, Baker Mayfield's there. And it's like, okay, this is a situation for you. You could succeed from here. You have a chance. We believe in you. We're going to give you all of the weapons that you need. We're going to give you all of the supports that you need. It is up to you to capitalize on this opportunity. And so I think if Shedeur Sanders could find himself in an opportunity like that, I think it's one of those where it's like, why would you not, as a father, as someone who's very influential in the NFL, why would you not take that opportunity? Also, let's just look ahead to the NFL, the projected order of next year's draft, because it's going to be interesting. Projected pick number 1, this is according to Pro Football Network, is the Carolina Panthers. By that point, they'll be heading into year 3 of Bryce Young. Honestly, he looked pretty bad last year, but again, he's a rookie, and you don't want to be on a franchise that gives up on you so quickly. So this is kind of a make or break year Obviously, it's a tough standard to uphold where you only get 2 years to succeed, but that's how it goes. Realistically, it's just one of those things. Then their second pick is the New York Giants. The New York Giants are going to, it's a cold weather team. So does he want to go there? Obviously, it's a huge market, but they've already denounced cold weather teams. So this is why I was a little confused about the cold weather statement, because a lot of the teams with the top picks are going to be in cold weather situations. So he might just have to suck it up and kind of pick which cold weather situation he minds the least. And then third pick overall is the Patriots. And this is obviously projection. Patriots are expected to take Drake May this year, so they're probably not going to need a quarterback. Then it's the Titans. Are they going to give up on Will Levis already? Will Levis showed promise. I just think that they need to kind of rebuild the team around him. It's a very bad team. Then at number 5, it's the Falcons. But the Falcons just signed Kirk Cousins, even though he's fresh off an Achilles injury. So does that make sense? So then you're like looking, it's like, okay, the Buccaneers, they have Baker. They just got him to a new deal. The Raiders, like I mentioned earlier, they're kind of the one team where I'm like, I could see him forcing himself there, because other than that, there's just not really a team. Like the Broncos need a quarterback, but again, cold weather. The Cardinals, they don't really need a quarterback at this point. I think next year, the Browns too, I think there's a lot of cold weather teams. And so I think they're going to, Coach Prime specifically is going to have to get over this cold weather notion. And if he's going to use his weight to get Shedeur into the right situation, he needs to figure out a way to pick the right team that's in the cold weather. So pick a team where they have a track record of developing quarterbacks. Pick a team that has somewhat success recently or has shown signs of success, and pick a team that won't give up on your son or your quarterback in 2.5 years when it doesn't look like he's a bona fide star yet. Not everybody's Patrick Mahomes. A lot of these quarterbacks need to sit. There's one comment that I got so far that it says, speak it into existence. The speak it into existence philosophy usually backfires. You know what? I think that's true. I think it's one of those things where you either call your shot and it goes tremendously well, and I think that's about 5% of the time. And then there's the 95% where it's like, that dude said he was going to be great and he sucks. And I don't think this is so much as calling it a shot or so much as it's kind of a warning to teams that maybe he doesn't want to draft Shaduer. And whether that's the right way to go around it or go about it, we'll find out. Obviously, this is a big year ahead of Shedeur. Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers are going to vie for that number 1 quarterback spot as well. So I thought it was really interesting. You guys comment below. Is Coach Prime being too overbearing, or is this the right move? I think it's a good move. If you could pull it off, why not do it? Why not put your son in the best position possible? We all want our kids to succeed. Our parents all wanted us to succeed for the most part if they loved us. So why not do the same for his own son? I know a lot of people are upset about it, but hey, whatever. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Shedeur's adversity. Is he kind of overselling it, or are people missing the point? But first, a word from our sponsors over at Nissan. This week's March Madness bracket highlight is brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Each week, we're picking one team that stands out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest. Just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs, these guys were able to take it to the next level. The North Carolina Tar Heels can only be as a Nissan Armada. This one seat is as hard as it gets out there, so it's no wonder they secured a top spot in the Sweet 16 this Thursday against Alabama in the NCAA tournament. They're a favorite pick by many to make a run for a championship. So take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop nissanusa.com. This episode of Locked on Busts is also brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. Say goodbye to Busted Brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney. Whether you're betting on a big upset or a 1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked-on. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. As you guys could tell, back in the studio, no longer in Alaska. It was cold there. It was a fun trip, though. You know, had to explore, saw the Northern Lights, all that jazz. But we're talking about Shedeur Sanders' adversity. He is currently going viral for statements that he made addressing what he went through to get to where he was. And while there's one part where I disagree with, I think him bringing up the Texas 6A high school players and saying that they haven't amounted to much is a little bit of a stretch, because obviously you got Jalen Milroe, Baker Mayfield, Quinn Ewers, Jalen Hurts. All those guys come from the division of Texas high school football that he's discussing. Now, I think where a lot of people are missing the point in Shedeur Sanders saying he's dealt with adversity, or he's dealt with a path, or gone down a path that not a lot of people understand. I think everyone wants to jump to conclusions and be like, you haven't faced no adversity. Your dad is Deion Sanders. Your dad's a millionaire. Your dad is one of the best players in football history. You were playing, or you're playing for your dad at both college stops, and everything's gone your way. And I think there is truth to the sense that, like, obviously playing for your dad helps, I guess, but there's nothing that he hasn't proven. It's not like he's out there playing like an average quarterback and Coach Prime's like, you know what? He's got it in him. We just haven't seen it yet. He is proven to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Now, where I think most people are missing the point about him discussing adversity is Shedeur Sanders, the same way that people say there's no adversity because your dad's a millionaire, there's no adversity because your dad's one of the best. That is all of the adversity right there. That is high standard to live up to. For instance, I'm not trying to push down Shiloh right now, but this is kind of going to sound like I'm putting down Shiloh. Compare Shiloh to Coach Prime. Is Coach Prime, or is Shiloh the same caliber player that Coach Prime was in college? No. So when people compare him, they're automatically they're not going to be like, is he a good college player? Is he a guy that's going to have a role in the NFL? No, they're going to be like, is he his father? That's the same thing with Bronny James and LeBron James. Is he his father? The answer is no. And those are high standards to live up to. I think it's the same goes for Shedeur. He's playing at a high profile position, the most important position in sports. His dad is one of the most iconic athletes of all time. And people are expecting him to succeed, wanting him to fail. And I don't think that's a sense of kind of adversity that people are getting from I don't think he's kind of getting the benefit of the doubt there, because I think people want to shoot him down. We live in a very much of a society where we want to be able to be like, you're wrong and this is why you're wrong, not like, let me hear out your point. And I think that's unfortunate. Like I already said, I think he's wrong about calling out the other quarterbacks. Obviously there's a lot of proven talent coming from the Texas high school football ranks. That is literally bread and butter. Kyler Murray, like all these guys are from talented, or they're all from high school. They're all from powerhouses in Texas. But I think Shedeur Sanders faces a different set of adversity that not a lot of people want to admit. On top of his father being super famous and super good at football, he also went a different route. He went the FCS route. So as a former 4-star recruit, which I know a lot of people want to say, like Shedeur Sanders, he did have offers from Bama. I'm not going to take that away from him, but there's a difference between having offers from Bama and there's a difference between being recruited by Bama. As a recruit, 24/7 Sports ranked him as a 3-star quarterback. He's a 4-star in the 24/7 Sports composite, but that's like the all the rankings. But as a recruit, he had 26 offers. He was a 3-star, and he was a Florida Atlantic commit. Excuse me. And nothing to take away from Florida Atlantic. They've produced some good players. Devin Singletary's from there and all that. But it's obviously a difficult path to go from FCS, and he dominated the FCS level right away. And people were watching him and they wanted to kind of see, oh, how good is he at the FCS level? Because if he's not good there, he's not as good as we thought. And then he balls out, he dominates. Then he transfers to the Power 5 level. He follows his dad, and Coach Prime kind of put a little bit of pressure on him by saying he was a starting quarterback before he even transferred there, but that's neither here nor there. Transfers to Colorado, and it's like, okay, now we don't believe in him because he did that at the FCS level. He went to the HBCU level, which I think most people would consider the lowest or one of the lower levels of FCS football, where it's like, if you're on a real, like Jackson State, for instance, had the best team in the HBCU ranks. Like they just had a better team than everybody, and they consistently beat everybody up. They were just that much better than everyone else. So when he comes to the Power 5 level, it's like, does it translate, or is he just FCS good? And so he kind of went through that adversity. So I think a lot of people are getting too caught up on the fact that he is the son of Deion Sanders, and not really considering everybody's journey is unique. And that's okay. Not everyone is going to come from the trenches. Like I hate to say it, not everyone is going to come up from from nothing to make it to something. Like, that's not everybody's journey, but that does not mean not everyone experienced challenges or adversity. I think we're stuck in a society where it's like we have to compare how difficult my path was to make sure that your path wasn't as hard as mine. And I think it's a really unfortunate mindset, because when you think that way, you're automatically diminishing someone else's accomplishments, and there's really no point in doing so. So that's my take on the whole thing. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Colorado hoops, because their season came to an end, unfortunately, this past week in the March Madness tournament. But first, a word from our sponsors. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for your role. And that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. It has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedon. That's linkedin.com/lockedon to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. Sorry for the late episode. Had a quick drive back from the airport. Flights were delayed. It was a whole thing. You know how the airports be. Colorado saw their season in. They won 2 games in the tournament. Obviously, the first 4 in. Then they beat a very, very good Florida team, 102-100. And then they had to take on Sunday, yesterday, a very gritty Marquette team. They're the number 2 team in their bracket, but obviously it's one of those things where you can't sleep on the Big East. I think the Big East is back, and so Colorado takes on a Marquette team, and realistically, Colorado played a decent game. It's just Marquette was not missing a shot, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if your opponent is making basically 62% of the shots, Marquette wins. They shot 61.8%. You're probably not going to win. They shot 42.9% from 3, whereas Colorado shot 47% from the field and 33% from 3. They just were clicking on all cylinders. It was just one of those things where Colorado could not keep up scoring-wise, and it was a great run. I think Tristan Da Silva, KJ Simpson, Eddie Lampkin, they gave it their all. KJ Simpson played all 40 minutes, but it just wasn't enough. That Marquette team was hot. I think Marquette is one of the hotter teams in college basketball right now, and they have a chance. Marquette does on Friday to make it to the Elite Eight, playing against a gritty North Carolina State team. If you're Colorado, there's no need to hang your head after this season. You obviously played as well as you could have. I think these are the 3 biggest takeaways from the game for me. You have to defend better. You got to make them miss shots. Obviously, easier said than done. They were stroking that thing, 61%, 62%. It's tough to, if they're making that many shots, it's very tough to keep up. The fact that it was only a 4-point game when things were all said and done is kind of a notion of just how hard this team fought. I also look at, and not many teams are this deep in March or in and around college basketball, but Colorado was only basically 6 players deep. They played Bengot Dak for 4 minutes, making him the 6th player. But realistically, or the 7th player, excuse me, realistically, I feel like they needed more depth. And I think that goes for a lot of these college teams out here. Even doesn't matter who they are. I think they all get to a point where it's like, we're going to ride these same starting 5 until the wheels fall off, and then the wheels fall off. And it's like, well, we need help. And it's like, well, you built no depth. You played minimal people at other times. And I think Colorado was kind of victim of that. I think they were a victim of relying on their big 3 and Cody Williams off the bench so much that it was kind of like, okay, who else can step up? Who else could provide a spark? So unfortunately for the Buffs, their season has come to an end. But it was a hard-fought season, a lot to build on, a lot to be excited about, and a lot to be excited about Locked On Buffs. This week, we're going to have a special guest on Friday. You won't want to miss it. We're going to be previewing spring. We're going to be talking all things Colorado football. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I appreciate all the support that you guys give me. We just hit 5,000 subscribers last week. I appreciate all the support there. Make sure to keep that subscriber count going up. Let's get to 6. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, give me 5 stars, and I will see you guys tomorrow.